Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's been a moment, but we're here to talk about my top 5 or so box buys. These are the boxes that I would buy or am buying, some stuff that I think you could go either way on, and then almost just as importantly, the things that I would avoid for a number of reasons. We'll go over all of that. Before we get started, I think we should take just a quick moment to acknowledge what's kind of going on in the market outside of sealed collecting. I have always viewed this, and I'm pretty clear about that on this channel, as a diversified piece of my kind of overall saving strategy in life. This is a piece of the pie. It's not the whole thing. You wouldn't necessarily know, I don't think, by looking at the sealed magic market, that there is a crazy volatile stock market right behind it. The box prices for everything are pretty steady. Things are actually relatively boring, I think, right now in the sealed market. There's not a ridiculous deal that's jumping out to me right now. Nevertheless, there's always opportunity. There's always something that is worth buying given the just vast number of products that are always available to us. If you are young in particular, and we're all young at heart, I know, but for anyone who is literally and physically very young in general, this is not necessarily the time to kind of buy into any fearsome narratives about stocks. Things are very volatile now. If this is something that you view as part of your overall strategy, I would seriously consider paying attention to the market right now. There are some sort of once in a lifetime, I think, ish buying opportunities for really high quality stocks out there that people have just dumped because they're kind of afraid of what's going on. Maybe they need access to liquid funds. Maybe some larger institutions have gotten their money and they're out, they're done. There's a number of reasons why things are going all over the place right now. Interest rates, the real estate market, etc. I wouldn't buy into any narratives. If you can afford just a little bit to start diversifying, let's say you're only in magic, you're young enough to where you haven't really thought about that yet, but you're over 18 years of age, right? Think about something like that. Even if it's $10 a month, $20 a month, something small, whatever it is that you can do, now is an interesting time to maybe force yourself to get diversified and get started on that journey. It's something that I really would blab on way too long unless I cut myself off. So I'll do just that right now, and we'll get into the reason why everyone's here anyway. Let's start talking box prices. Like I said, the sealed market right now, not incredibly interesting. There are a few products that are available right now. I think the window's kind of closing a little bit on them. So I just wanted to bring some of them up. First off, I would start off. This is really my favorite pick right now. I have talked about this set, constantly. I'm annoying about it, but Zendikar Rising, the window's closing. I know I said that a few weeks ago. It happened. They are in the mid 90s or upper 90s on TCG Player. But everywhere else, they're either $100 or $110 or so, on places like Amazon. So the fact that people are willing to pay above $100, it's just a matter of time before that's just what they cost. I absolutely love this set. It's got long-term staples in it. There is an Expedition box topper inside of every draft box, inside of every set booster box, and 2 of them inside of the collector boosters. The collector boosters are long gone in terms of their price point. The set booster boxes you can get for somewhere around $110, $119 right now. Not a screaming deal. Depends what you like better. I just think that this is a ridiculous value given what this product is right now. So I'm my favorite thing right now that I see is in the mid 90s Zendikar Rising draft. So something to keep in mind. Kaldheim draft is another one of those. The window is closing on these. You've got your modal dual face lands that complete the same cycle in Zendikar Rising. The set has some powerhouse cards, some really decent mythics. You've got the Vorinclex, kind of the beginning of the Phyrexian arc that showed up in this set. At $95 a box right now on eBay, I think actually $94. I really like that. I've always liked this set. I've been a sucker for it. But if I put my my bias aside, I really do like Kaldheim. I think that that's a fair price if you haven't gotten into Kaldheim and you're looking for it long term. Even if you want to draft with it at $94, I don't think you can go wrong either way. So I bought literally just a couple more of these, and I think that's going to kind of do it for me for Kaldheim. There's too much coming out for me to pay attention to things that are older beyond that. So the set boxes for Kaldheim, they're $95 or so right now. I'm not as interested in those. Those were I filled up on some more at $81 recently. So, always keep your eyes peeled, but there's nothing really crazy going on with either of these right now. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Jumpstart. So Jumpstart's kind of interesting. I really still like right now, right this moment, Jumpstart at $85. Jumpstart at $85 is a great buy in general. I think these kind of bottomed out at around $81 or $82, but the fact that they're available for $85 is pretty remarkable given that we've gotten some information. We know that Jumpstart is coming out with every standard release. Okay, is that going to dilute the brand that is Jumpstart? I don't think so. Those boxes are $100 at launch. Remember that Jumpstart at launch was like $150. Do you remember that? You may not remember or recall, but when Jumpstart came out, none of us understood it. Was this a premium set? Is this like a Modern Horizons 2 type premium set? Is it a Commander premium set? What is this thing? The market found its price point at around, the $80 to $90-ish range. It fluctuates depending on who's selling it. But Jumpstart at $85 is great. The Jumpstart coming out is 18 packs per box and is $100 or so we think. Let's see where it goes. But you're getting a lot more value out of this box right here. And we know what's in it. We know that there are really good cards. There's some chase cards. There's some really exciting stuff floating around. Phyrexian Tex Swamp and Allosaurus Shepherd, things of that nature. So I if you don't have this, I think that this is a really cool opportunity to just close the loop and put a lid on acquiring Jumpstart at $85, especially now that we just know what it's going to cost going forward. One thing I also like, I see right now, I have a draft booster box as a stand-in for a set booster box. You'll have to forgive me. Midnight Hunt set booster boxes are $87 on Amazon right now. I have spoken recently about what I think about Midnight Hunt. I kind of compared Crimson Vow to Midnight Hunt in terms of their sort of commander appeal. I really like Midnight Hunt. I thought I made a pretty decent enough case for it. I know that it is a bit of a distressed asset and it's not been hailed as the most exciting set out there, but I think for a handful of reasons, this is a good set. It's going to hold up long term. The land cycle's excellent. The Meat Hook Massacre will be a true chase mythic for years to come. I think that some of the draft archetypes are really interesting. Some of the mythic planeswalkers are relevant. Aside from that, no, there's not a whole slew of $20 rares in the set, but there's enough to sink your teeth into. No pun intended. Sorry. To make this worth it, at a set booster box at $87, I think is a really fair price. Like, it's under $90, right? That's what I'm always looking for. If you don't have Midnight Hunt and you're interested in some set boosters, I kind of like that price point now. It's not a fire sale or a dump or anything. Lastly, I just want to mention one thing about Kamigawa, but to close this little segment out, this is still, and it's amazing that we've been able to say this for so long, but this is still like the default mode. If you have no idea where to park your money and you believe in Magic sealed product and you just don't think anything is speaking to you, Modern Horizons 2 continues to be just above $200. They actually have gone down $3 on average to $205. If you have no idea what to buy, you don't understand what's a good deal, nothing's speaking to you, Modern Horizons 2, period. The draft box in particular right now. I want to talk a little bit about draft set collector in just a moment, but the set boxes are up in like the 270s right now. That's a bit high for me. At 219 is where I was picking them up a long time ago. I think that just the premium has gotten stretched out so much at this point that I find that this is the good deal. The premium's been already baked into the set booster boxes. The draft booster boxes are still available somehow at launch price. They're just relatively in print. They've been made very available. This is a bit of a money machine for Wizards. I'm totally fine with that. Like I could not open enough of this stuff. The last thing I want to bring up, this is very interesting to me. There's nothing available at a buy price point to me for Neon Dynasty, but I just want to bring it up. What is amazing to me is that Neon Dynasty is still holding strong at $98 or so a draft box. Amazon, they seem to always be a little more inflated. They're kind of 108s, 109s for draft, talking specifically draft. Set boosters have stayed around 120 like forever. I have never seen a sale, or if there was one, I just missed it or something. It was a 24-hour thing. You cannot see tremendous dips in the draft box prices for Neon Dynasty. I find that really interesting, and it just goes to show you how much people enjoy this set, how much they like the contents, they like the variety. Opening a booster pack of this, it feels like Wizards invented 5 new card types, honestly, with the channel lands and the equipment creatures and the various showcase frames. I mean, it's just so chopped up into all of these little pieces parts. I really just love it. So what my call for this would be, if you see anything below or approaching $90 but below 95, 94 or so, I would be comfortable in this new price point era in a beloved set that's going to be received well, I think just indefinitely. I would be comfortable paying that price. I don't see that now, but I'd be remiss if I didn't at least bring that up and say, hey, if you find this for that, obviously, yes, I could do that for like any box and say, hey, if you see this for less than that, go ahead and buy it. So bit of a low-hanging fruit. But I would want to mention that only because I find it so fascinating that this has stayed at that price point for so long. It's interesting to me. So when we were talking about set, collector, and draft, I'm often asked which box type I prioritize. Obviously, I like them all. I think everyone, we all like them all. I don't mean to speak for you, but there is appeal in each of those. What I think is interesting about them is that each of them is so different that obviously none can fill the role of the other. Wizards has really picked out I think, unless they come up with something, new, and maybe they will, the kind of the 3 ways that people want to engage with Magic. They want to engage with Magic as the game, they just enjoy opening the cards, or they are a serious investor collector. They've got a specific booster pack for each of those swaths. It's like, the Timmy, the Johnny, and the Spike, or whichever namesake you'd like to include there for those. I put a graph together, so check this out. Which box do I prioritize? Whichever is the best deal, to be honest. I like them all, but I think you have to recognize a few things. Collector boosters are unique, limited print runs with truly chase cards in them. Set boosters are specifically for cracking and enjoying with some sort of X factor, right, that heightens that, like the list, or a chase card that bleeds over into the set boosters, albeit very rarely something. And then draft boxes will always be relevant, not because people that resell like to draft necessarily, but because if a store is running an event, draft or sealed is the great equalizer. You lose a lot of potential players if it's high competitive constructive formats all the time. You've got to run draft and sealed for people who are far more casual, who are just coming back to Magic. It's the great equalizer. So draft, I just believe, will always be relevant, and I do not think Wizards will discontinue the draft box. I just don't see that happening. There was talk that maybe set booster boxes would be all we have, and that we'd go to the draft packs. They'd sell a draft pack if you wanted to draft, or just the pre-release kits for pre-release day. I do not think that's going to happen. There's way too much use for draft boxes, stores buying them for events or what have you. So anyway, if you keep that in mind, if you look at the graph, what I think is interesting is this is an image of the price from dominaria forward of the draft boxes in that orange color, collector boxes when they started to show up in Throne of Eldraine in green, and then set boxes when they started to show up in Zendikar Rising going forward. Now, these are just standard releases, basically. I've left specialty products out to just kind of keep it apples to apples. But what you can see is the draft box, if you go from right to left, like back in time, yeah, the draft box price starts to lift up a little bit, right? The older the sets get, they go up in value. Why else are we doing this? The set boxes, as they came out, well, you know what? Look, the set boxes are a little all over the place. We don't have enough time under our belt to have skyrocketed set booster prices. So is draft or set a better, investment? You're really, if anyone's giving you an answer on that, one way or the other in favor of one, they're speculating, right? And that's not to detract from advice you might be getting, but you do have to realize this info right here goes to show that would be speculation. We don't have enough data to show any form of a trend in set box prices. They're all somewhere around $100. We've got Zendikar Rising, Kaldheim, Strixhaven, AFR. That's the only range we've got to work with so far. When you go to the collector boxes, it's a little bit of a different story. Talk about all over the place. Why are these all over the place? Well, Throne of Eldraine, it was the first, right? Those are special in that regard. They are above $300 and deservedly so. They'll stay there and only get more valuable. They are a historic element at this point. Theros Beyond Death are also just old, right? Ikoria has these interesting chase appeal cards that I think have pushed those box prices up and helped it. Just the popularity has really helped to push those. But once you get to Core 2021 and Zendikar Rising, the age of the collector box, in my opinion, is what is really buoying those two. Zendikar Rising has the expeditions. Core 2021, I think it is really just a product of its age. There's not technically anything that's special about like a Theros Beyond Death collector booster box. It wasn't the first, and does it really matter that something is the second? I don't know. I think that they are just old. They're gone. They're out of print. There's a finite quantity, and the people that have them, Once we get to the more modern time, there's the fall off, right? We know all about this. The Kaldheim, we'll come back to Strixhaven, but AFR, Midnight Hunt, Vow, Neon Dynasty, not Neon Dynasty, but Streets of New Capenna. These are the what is it about this box that I need to buy? Strixhaven has a shot at those Japanese Mystical Archives cards, and Neon Dynasty has a shot at an $1,800 ultra limited print true chase card. That's why those have spikes on them. I know I'm belaboring this point a little bit, but I think it's important to digest this graphic and say, look, draft boxes drift up over time. I understand that. Set boxes, we don't have enough data on them, and they're all kind of in the same position. Collector boxes tell us a story. Collector boxes have got to have something going for them in order for them to obviously have long-term appeal. If we, again, to recap, Eldraine, the first. Theros Beyond Death, it's just old. Ikoria, Godzilla, Core 2021, at this point, I'm willing to say that it's just old enough and had a small enough print run. Zendikar Rising has its expeditions, and then we get into Kaldheim. What is it about Kaldheim? Well, okay, maybe the Phyrexian text Vorinclex. Is that really that big of a deal? It doesn't seem like people think so. Now, the Japanese Mystical Archives, however, whoa, that's a big deal. AFR, nothing ridiculously special. Midnight Hunt, Vow, Neon Dynasty, obviously, and then Streets of New Capenna, same story. Other than those gilded foils, I think that Streets of New Capenna is unfairly priced, to be honest. I did a segment about this where I talked about the actual rarity of these cards, and I think that if you really look at some of the valuable hits in these boxes, there are some really, really decent enough cards. I mean, Ob Nixilis alone in foil etch is $137 or so. Some of the commander cards that could have been shoved in there are high. The gilded foil crime bosses are between $50 and $70. The foil etched planeswalkers, Elspeth in particular, is $56. Like there's just too long a list of expensive cards that are coming out of that box for me to believe that these should be priced at the $168 that they are right now. Nevertheless, the market's just, I think, distracted. So I won't belabor that point much, but I thought it would be interesting to just share this exercise. So, which box is best? Look, whatever appeals to you, I think they all have validity. They all have legs long term, but it's ultimately going to come down to what you think is better for you and what the best deal is. Let's talk about some stuff I'm a little iffy on. So, these are the boxes that I advocate for strongly. I'm going to kind of shuffle things around a little bit. What is the stuff that I think, I could go either way on? Well, I think right now the Commander Legends Baldur's Gate presale is interesting because the drafts are $97. I see set boosters for $98. I'll pull Commander Legends 1 as kind of a stand-in for this. If you really want access to these cards and you want to play with them now, I don't see anything wrong with paying that price. It's going to be a really fun product, I think. I really have enjoyed the previews. I wonder if we'll have theme fatigue by doing another Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set. I'm really not sure why we did two so close to each other. It's kind of a strange choice, but nevertheless, it's not a problem to me. It's a fair price if you want to play. I would wait if you're trying to invest in this and sort of hold on to them. I would wait. The price should be relatively flat, I think, because Wizards is going to keep this in print for a while. Here's a screen grab of the price graph for Commander Legends 1. You can see that it's been pretty steady for a while at somewhere around $100 because Wizards keeps this in print. There's not a drawn-out feeding frenzy, too many people chasing too few boxes. I believe that's going to be the same case for kind of one of these flagship, player-oriented products. It's not necessarily a collector-oriented product when you're talking about the draft boxes. So something to think about there. Dominaria United, also, I obviously don't have a box of that in front of me, but I am waiting. Pre-release prices for standard sets are almost always, as you know, really inflated. These are no different. They're pretty high. I'm absolutely thrilled about this set. I'm so excited. I think everybody is. You could cut the tension with a knife, really. I'm really looking forward to previews. But this is really expensive pre-order price, so I'm going to wait it out. I don't think I have anything to lose by doing that. If I end up having to pay these prices, great. They'll be readily available in print for a while. I do want to get to, speaking of some of those distressed assets that we were talking about in the beginning, these are some other iffy things to think about. I just don't think that these are entirely fairly priced in the long term, especially Crimson Vow, but I completely understand why. Like, think about your specific unique point of view right now. If you are just a modest buyer of a couple sealed products here and there, is this where you're going to put your money right now? I don't really think so. Unless you're really contrarian, you're like, oh, I only buy the stuff that's at the bottom. It doesn't matter what it is. Some people do very well in the investment world with that strategy, but if you've got Commander Legends Baldur's Gate on the horizon, Dominaria United coming out, maybe some really cool deals on the Jumpstart stuff that's heading up. Oh, Modern Horizons 2 is still available. Why wouldn't I buy that? Are you really going to sink $150 into one of these when we really have no end in sight for its just depressed price point? The box toppers aren't really even that exciting in this, right? That's already a bad sign. I think that these are okay at $150. I've said that before. Like, the Sorin alone in this set is like a $130 card. So, this is why I say it's an iffy one. Streets of New Capenna, it's to me, it just doesn't make sense that this is $168 now. But what this tells me is that the market has spoken. We all know how rare these cards are. Like, it's not, there's too many people willing to pay what they believe is the correct price for something for this to be much higher than $168. And how long is it going to stay there? Well, how long has this been there? Like, this has been at 160 something forever. This came out summer of last year. This is a year old, and it's just been where it is. So I don't mean to scare anybody. I obviously own a ton of these because I have faith long term. Remember, I'm working with kind of a 5-year window here. So I would, tread lightly. Streets of New Capenna is the one I maybe really would point to here because like triomes, foil etched planeswalkers, true chase mythics, gilded foil cards that are commanding $50, $60, $70 price points. And remember my breakdown from a while ago. Those are rarer than getting a hit at Sugu card in general in Neon Dynasty. So this box is $100 less than this box, but the chase cards are rarer than the chase cards in here. It's just something to think about. But then again, like I say, the market has spoken. So that's kind of it for the stuff I'm kind of iffy about. The things I would avoid are, it's really, that hasn't changed, but I'm going to kind of call it, this is the moratorium the in memoriam of being able to buy Ikoria at a reasonable price. Really anything from kind of the 2020, 2021 era, or 2020 era in particular, like Theros Beyond Death, Ikoria in particular, they are Ikoria is $130. Theros is hovering between $120, $130. If you got these at $89 back in the day, great. If not, you're buying into something that's just gonna slowly ticking up. If you still want these, remember at $130, that's about what you'd pay retail $3.99 a pack to go and draft this set. So still, it depends on what you want to do. But if you're buying and holding, you're paying an awfully big premium. You're almost at this point paying a 50% markup on what you could have gotten Ikoria for. Just think about how your money's being deployed there. So that's kind of the way I see these right now. There's stuff all over the table here because things are crazy. In my head, I'm trying to think of the market as being more interesting than it is right now. Maybe it's just not. Things are pretty boring. I kind of like that. I think that's fine. But what are your thoughts? What are you buying out there? Do any of these appeal to you? Have you gone after anything in particular? Are you sitting tight because, oh my gosh, this price hike is gonna eat you alive, but you really want Dominaria United and all the Commander Legends stuff coming out? I'd love to know your thoughts. One of the things, the little footnote I'd throw in here is I'm extremely excited about the Warhammer Commander decks that are also coming out. That's another thing. They've got the premium versions of those decks. You're buying 4 Commander decks for $500. Yikes! There's just a lot of decisions we have to make, and I can bet that those premium decks are going to be relatively limited in their print run. So a lot remains to be seen. This is just a quick check-in, a quick update. I really appreciate you watching. If you want to follow along and stay up to date on all of these types of sessions and chats, feel free to subscribe to the video, give a like, leave a comment, let me know what you're up to. I'll chime in. I love talking. I appreciate all the support. Thank you for taking a look at this today, and until we talk again, take care.